Hi guys. Last week we learned tremolo and some low first fingers. So tremolo, remember, is near the near the tip of your bow, and you're playing lots of fast notes back and forth. And then low first finger, you're taking your first finger from where it was on the tape and moving it half a step towards the nut, towards the scroll, away from you, downward. So you're moving that low, and we had a low 2, which was touching our 1 before. Now when our 1 moves away, it's a whole step, and then a regular 3 on the tape, so you have this whole step pattern between your fingers. So that was last week. This week, we're gonna learn some rhythmic patterns, and we're also gonna learn a high third finger pattern. So let's get started. Please turn to page 13 in your new blue books, page 13, and syncopation in the top blue box at the top. Syncopation means playing a note off the beat and not on the beats. You're playing in the middle of the beats, playing off the beat. So syncopation, if you look at it, it looks like this. Got an 8th note, then a quarter note, then an 8th note. And the way you would count it is 1 and 2 and. 2 happens here in the middle. It's basically taking, if you had 2 8th notes here, and then 2 8th notes here, since a quarter note gets 2 8th notes, these 2 8th notes start here on the and then this one is swallowed up in the quarter note, so you don't actually play another note until the last one. 1 and 2 is still this note, the second part of it, so you don't say anything, and then this is the and. So it's 1 and 2 and. Okay, so in order to play that, feel free to clap the first, in the blue box, the demonstration there, the first line. If you clap it, it's 1 and 2, 1 and 2, and 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay? Then you're going to go to number 1, and you're going to learn line A of number 1. So number 1, it starts out, it has 4 different sections. I want you to practice this one at a time, isolate and repeat. The first rhythm is 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. Okay, and that's all a D note. In fact, they're all just D notes. You're going to play 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. Notice with only 3 notes in a measure, first time you start on a down bow, the second measure you start on an up bow. You're going to switch bows depending on which measure you're on. Then if you look at the B one, the count is 1 and 2, 1 and 2 and. Okay? So that sounds like this. 1 and 2, 1 and 2 and. Then practice that a bunch of times. Letter C, it's 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. Also on a D note, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. Then letter D is 1, 2 and 1 and 2 and. So now the 8th note is on 2 and. So it's going to go 1, 2 and 1 and 2 and. And I should have made that quarter note in the middle a little bit longer, sorry. Okay, so I want you to be able to play that next week, and I will play the B part with you, but you gotta make sure you can play these syncopations. All right. Please turn to page 14 in our books. Feel free to stop this video and practice. I'm just giving you the information that you need to know so that you can practice. All right. In page 14, now we're going to take our third finger that used to be on the tape. So we're going to use our normal first finger on the tape. Second finger is high, so there's space in between 1 and 2. Third finger would normally be on the tape. Now we're going to push our third finger a half step towards the bridge so that now second and third finger are straddling your tape. Okay, so let's try that on the G string, you're going to play your open G, then first finger right on the tape, second finger high, and then third finger, instead of being right on the tape, you're going to reach up, and you're going to have, and that high third finger will be a half step below your D note on your open D, okay? So practice that a little bit using number 1. So number 1, they do it with the G string, then they have you play a regular C with your third finger right on the tape, and then you move it higher. Then your fourth finger should be the same. Boy, I swam around that a lot. The same as your open D string, and then, so together, letter A, number 1, goes half step, half step, half step, then back to the C sharp, B, D. Sorry, that's an A, not a D. Okay, so that's letter A. And chromatic, if you noticed, when we played the B with a high 2, then the C right next to it, C natural, then the C sharp, then the D, we did half step to C, half step to C sharp, half step to D. That's called chromatic. Okay, so make sure you look at the blue box and know what chromatic means. Basically, it means half step after a half step. And then they also have a line underneath or above a note that's tenuto, which means just hold the note for its full value. Don't cut it short at all. And then accidental is taking a sharp, a natural, or a flat and putting it in front of a note so that just that note and everything, all of those notes later in the measure, before the measure line, are now a sharp, even if it's not in your key signature. That's what an accidental is. Okay, so the song that you're going to learn is number 3 on page 14. So number 3, basically what number 3 is it's a D major scale, but you're using the lower octave also. So you already know the D major scale, D, E, F sharp, sorry, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. You already know that open 1, high 2, 3, open 1, high 2, 3. All right, but they're adding the notes on the G string that you just played, but since the G still has a couple notes below it on the D scale, what they do is they take the D string notes and play D, E, F sharp, because you don't have those notes below your G string. But then instead of playing third finger G, now you're going to go down and play the low G. So it's going to go D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, high 3, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D, and then back down again. High 3 here, C sharp, B, A, G. Now you're out of notes, but you still need 3, so you go across to the D string and play F sharp, B, D. Okay? So practice that. You need to be able to play that by next week. Now, something we already did in music class, if you turn to page 15, the rhythms that we're doing on page 15 are just 16th notes. In music class, we call these due-to-datas. In orchestra, so that we can put numbers on the beats, we call it 1E and a. Either rhythmic counting system works, but as we get further and further along in orchestra, I use 1E and a, 2E and a, 3E and a, 4E and a, as opposed to what we did in music class, due-to-data, 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 due-to-data. Okay? So either one works, they're interchangeable, that you're just saying something different to get the feel of it. But 16th notes, if you look in the blue box and look at the first line, the count is 1 E and a 2 E and a for quarter notes. Now, if you're going to play 16th notes, even if you start with quarter notes, you should be subdividing, saying in your head 1 E and a 2 E and a. Even though you only really need to go 1, 2 in order to get the notes, if you're already saying the 16th notes, then by the second measure where you need a 1 E and a, you're already in the groove for 1 E and a's. Okay, so the way this would work if you counted it and subdivided it is, I'm just going to play it on a D string. I'm going to play the D note, I'm going to play the notes, but I'm going to count the 16th notes all the time. So here's how it works. 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a. Okay? So if I have an eighth note, I only play on 2 and, but I can still say the E in order to keep the groove going for 16th notes. So in order to learn this and get used to playing them, I'm just going to have you play number 1, letter A. Okay, so it's 1 E and a 2 and 1 E and a 2 and 1 E and a 2 and 1 E and a 2 and. And you'll notice that this is a C major scale. Starts on C, goes up to C, and there are no sharps or flats. So you're going to play F naturals and C naturals. All right, so you start on your third finger on the G string. 1 E and then the 2 and is on the D, 2 E and 3 E and 4 E. I just played an F sharp. Ha! I get an F. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 2 E and. Boy, if I looked at the music instead of looking at you guys, I wouldn't have said 3 E and a 4 E and a. It should be 1 E and a 2 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a. Sorry about that. I'm trying to rush here. So that is what we would have covered in class today. Please make sure you go through that and you practice it so you can play it next week. Next week, we need to spend all of our time learning how to shift. It's going to be awesome, but you need to have this stuff and we can't afford to miss a week. So practice hard. I'll see you next week. Sorry I missed you this week.